A look at the SEC leaderboards through 9 games, and, well, Joey Aguilar's name is at the top of several categories. And a look at Tennessee's rushing numbers. Could Tennessee do something this year it hasn't done in the Josh Heupel era?
You are Locked On Vols, your daily podcast on the Tennessee Volunteers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome into it. Locked On Vols, and I am your host, Eric Cain. Can't thank you enough for being here, making Locked On Vols a part of your morning routine, your first listen, your first watch. Each and every single morning, we are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every single day. And today's episode is brought to you in part by our friends over at Game Time, where you can download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. A big thank you to our friends over at Game Time. We got tons of questions for you guys that I'm going to do my best to answer in segment number 3. Before that, I'm going to answer 2 important questions that I think we need to discuss. Seeing a lot of these statements or these questions since the loss on Saturday night. Going to get into 2 important questions before your important questions in segment number 2 that I think are important to discuss. But kicking things off here in segment number 1, Joey Aguilar continuing to lead the SEC in passing. What other Tennessee Volunteers are on the SEC leaderboards 9 games into the season? And can Tennessee running the football not as effectively as it has the last couple of years? Will it do something it hasn't done yet under the Josh Heupel regime? A lot of good stuff here in segment number 1 as we continue here on this open date Tuesday morning on Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys again for being here. You can find the show wherever you get your podcast, free and available. And let's go ahead and get into it. A lot of doom and gloom, and understandably so. I understand the loss on Saturday is it stinks. I mean, it does, man. Like, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. It's a bad loss. Not a bad loss to a bad team per se, but just a bad loss in terms of what it means for the rest of the year, knocking yourself out of the college football playoff picture in a game that, you know, I got to give credit to the opponents, right? I mean, the opponents forced turnovers, the opponents did this, the opponents did that, but I can't sit here and not believe that Tennessee was the better team on Saturday, and sometimes the better team does not win those football games. I've seen a lot of Oklahoma people refute that, seen a lot of Tennessee fans and people like me saying Tennessee was the better team, and that's understandable. But I sat there and watched the same game, and I can't think that Tennessee wasn't the better football team. But Tennessee didn't win the game, and that's I mean, what more do you need? Tennessee didn't win the football game, and that's unfortunate. So there's been a lot of doom and gloom, and that's fine. But I did think we'd go look at, at this point in the season, with only 3 regular season games remaining, where Tennessee stacks up in a lot of these SEC categories. Well, through 9 games, Tennessee continues to lead the SEC in total offense. 504 yards per 0.1 per game. That is about that's about 20 more. Yeah, it's a little under technically. 20 by decimal points. 20 yards more than the next closest team, which is the Arkansas Razorbacks. So Tennessee's leading the SEC in total offense. 4,537 yards in the season altogether. Tennessee leads the SEC in passing yards per game. Passing yards, Tennessee has thrown for 2,964 yards through the air, averaging 329.3 yards per game. That's understandable when you have Joey Aguilar. And this one kind of surprised me for Tennessee to be as high as it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tennessee ranks 7th in the SEC. I thought it'd be lower right now, to be honest with you, in running the football, averaging 174.8 yards per game. But we know the last couple of weeks running the football in SEC play has not been good enough. Without a fourth quarter surge, Tennessee, those rushing numbers would not look good at Kentucky. Tennessee only had 65 yards on the ground against Oklahoma in the contest the other day. Tennessee didn't run the football nearly as the way you wanted to against Mississippi State at points in times and some of these other SEC games. Tennessee did run the ball really well against Arkansas. Arkansas's defense was not very good, especially stopping the run. So we'll get into more of the rushing yards here in just a moment, but that's kind of where Tennessee is offensively. And Tennessee points per game, leading the SEC with 43.6 points per game. That is almost 7 more than Texas A&M, who is second with 37.8 points per game. So that's a look at it from a team perspective. Individually, let's look at it. Passing. Tennessee's Joey Aguilar leads the SEC with 2,737 yards passing. He leads the SEC with 21 touchdowns. Passing yards, he's got 365 yards more passing yards than the second-place guy in Taylon Green of Arkansas. Look at touchdown passes. Joey Aguilar has 21. That is one more than Ty Simpson, who has 20. That's two more than Taylon Green, who has 19. That's three more than Arch Manning, who has 18, and Diego Pavia, who has 18. Now, the big difference here is you have Joey Aguilar leading the SEC in touchdown passes with 21. He's also tied for second amongst starting quarterbacks in the league with 8 interceptions. Green also has 8 interceptions. DJ Lagway has 9 interceptions. Ty Simpson, 20 touchdown passes, 1 interception. He has yet to throw another interception. He threw one against Vanderbilt the week before Alabama played Tennessee and has not thrown one since. Pretty impressive any way you want to spin that one. Look at quarterback rating across the SEC. Joey Aguilar is tied for third with a 161 quarterback rating. Actually, I'm going to take the guy leading the league is a backup quarterback, so I'm going to take him out of the equation. Ty Simpson is number 1 with 162.6. Diego Pavia is number 2 with 162.0, and then Joey Aguilar is number 3 with 161. So yeah, they went ahead and threw him out anyway. So yeah, Joey Aguilar is doing impressive work leading the SEC in those statistical categories. Let's look at rushing, shall we? Deshaun Bishop, despite Tennessee's inability to run the football the way that it needs to, Deshaun Bishop is ranking 5th in the country, in the SEC with 690 rushing yards. That is just, that's about 90 yards shy, that's 99 yards shy of Jeremiah Cobb of Auburn. That is behind Mike Washington at Arkansas, who has 828 yards. That's behind Kewan Lacey at Ole Miss, who has 863 yards. And that's behind Ahmad Hardy, the Missouri running back, who's nearing 1,000 at 937 yards. Deshaun Bishop has 9 rushing touchdowns on the season. Hardy has 11. Lacey has 13. And then Bishop has 9. So Bishop is up there in terms of touchdowns as well. Just in case you're curious, Star Thomas and his 428 yards rushing ranks 15th. And Peyton Lewis with his 248 yards ranks 33rd in the league. All right, let's get back to the fun stuff. Chris Brazzell leads the SEC as he has all season long with 808 yards receiving. That's more than Brennan Thompson of Mississippi State, who has 716. That's more than Mario Craver as well, who has 716. Craver of Texas A&M. Braylon Staley checking in at number 4. So it goes Tennessee, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Tennessee. Braylon Staley checking in at 703 receiving yards. And then Mike Matthews in the top 10 as well. He comes in at number 8 with 638 receiving yards. So 3 Tennessee wide receivers rank inside the top 10 of the SEC receiving charts. Chris Brazzell, the second, leading the way with 808 yards. And then you look at touchdowns. Brazzell again leads the way, 8 receiving touchdowns. That's one more than Casey Concepcion of Texas A&M, formerly of NC State, if you remember that from a season ago. You have Braylon Staley, who's tied for 5th with 5 touchdowns. And then you have Mike Matthews that's tied for 12th with 4 receiving touchdowns. So that's a lot of the good. Now let's go back and look at the team rushing totals. And this is the last stat that I kind of have for you guys that I think is, well, it kind of stinks, to be honest with you. You have Tennessee. All right, you have Tennessee that's 7th in the league right now with 174.8 yards per game on the ground. Tennessee on the season has 1,573 yards rushing, all right? With 4 games remaining, 3 regular season, okay, and, of course, an expected bowl game, Tennessee would need to average 231.7 yards per game in order to reach that 2,500-yard marker. In all 4 years under Josh Heupel and his coaching regime, Tennessee has surpassed 2,500 yards on the ground. Tennessee did it in 2021 with, let's see here, with 2,832. Tennessee did it in 2022 just barely with 2,593. Tennessee did it in 2023 with 2,663 yards rushing. And then in 2024, Tennessee led the SEC with 2,936 yards rushing. So when we were back in the summer, and we were talking about what this team might look like, and boy, was I and several others wrong about how the season would kind of play out. It was run the football, rely on good defense. Tennessee's not run the football effectively enough, in my opinion. But one of the main talking points behind that prediction was, well, Tennessee has garnered 2,500 yards on the ground in all 4 years under Josh Heupel. Well, right now, unless Tennessee averages 231.7 yards per game, that's not going to happen in 4 games, right? That's not going to happen. So, is it possible? Sure. You've got New Mexico State. Tennessee can run all over New Mexico State, kind of flip those stats a little bit. But then you got to go down to the swamp, and Tennessee's not historically run the football under Heupel well against Florida, has in recent memory, so there's some chances there. And then, of course, you've got to do it against Vanderbilt at home and then a bowl game. So it's certainly possible, don't get me wrong, but you would absolutely need to have a day. Have a day against New Mexico State, and that very much is possible because Tennessee in non-conference games this year has racked up a ton on the ground. But that's what's needed to kind of get to that plateau of 2,500 yards rushing on the season, 231.7 averaging in 4 games. And so that's a little underwhelming. Tennessee will certainly get to 2,000, okay? But 2,500, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. But nonetheless, I kind of wanted to bring some of those stats to the leaderboard here. Chris Brazzell doing a great job in terms of leading the wide receivers in the SEC with yards and touchdowns, and Joey Aguilar leading the SEC in passing touchdowns with 21 and in passing yards with 2,737. That is 365 more than the second place quarterback, and that's Taylor Green. Again, that's not going to take the sting out of anything in terms of Saturday night, but again, I like to do these checkpoints, if you will, and kind of see where some of Tennessee's better players rack up in the SEC, where does Tennessee as a unit rack up in the SEC, and Tennessee still has the best offense statistically in the Southeastern Conference right now. 2 important questions that we've got to get answered. What are those questions? I'll tell you on the other side right here on Locked On Vols. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than over at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score the next fourth quarter, from who will score to the next fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game more exciting, especially when your team's making that late-game push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if or when your first $5 bet wins. That's new customers, $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head on over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, and it's where you can make every moment more. Hey guys, welcome back into your Tuesday morning Locked On Vols. Appreciate you guys for being here. 5 days a week right here when you get up, wherever you find your podcast, you will find a new episode of Locked On Vols. And, of course, after football games, I put one out there as well. Can't thank you everydayers enough for being here and making this show what it is. We'll answer your questions coming up in segment number 3. But first, I want to get into 2 questions that I've seen a lot since Saturday night. And I don't think these are necessarily any of y'all's questions. I'll look through the questions in the hopper before I hit record here. But one question is, does there need to be a youth movement for this football team over the course of the next 3 games? And it's a valid question, all right? Tennessee's not making the playoff. Tennessee's already bowl eligible. So you kind of sit here and you think, okay, well, what's Tennessee really playing for? I'm going to play both sides of the coin here, so just be patient for those of you guys that are screaming at your radio dials or at your phones right now or at your TVs or whatever. I'm going to show my work on both sides here. And I'm not advocating for this because I think that it sends the wrong message to your team. I think it sends the wrong message to your fan base. And honestly, I think it sends the wrong message to your recruits. It kind of gives the impression that you're giving up on the season if you go to a straight youth movement. Well, what does a straight youth movement look like? Well, I had a buddy over the weekend or after the game suggest to me that George McIntyre should play every snap for Tennessee at quarterback moving forward. We just went over the stats in the SEC and how Joey Aguilar is leading the conference in passing yards and passing touchdowns, tied for third in quarterback rating, so on and so forth. I understand that, unless I'm missing something, and everybody's missing something, Joey Aguilar is out of eligibility here. I understand where the thought process is, right? Well, you're out of the playoff picture. You're already bowl eligible. Go ahead and do what you can do the most to kind of get ready for the next year. I understand that line of thinking, okay? I am not dogging that line of thinking. But that would be a hard thing to do, in my opinion. And I think it would kind of send a wrong message. So that's not going to happen. That is not going to happen, okay? And I'm not advocating for that. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying I've seen more. I had a buddy ask me, and I've seen some of that talk on social media as well. But it does beg the question, will there be a bit of a youth movement? Now, how could that work, right? No matter what, these last 3 games, you're playing for, I know the average fan doesn't really want to hear this, but, you're playing for pride. You're playing to go out there and do something you haven't done. Number 1, you're playing to win games, okay? Number 2, you're going out there to Florida to try to do something you haven't done since 2003, and that's win in the swamp. Number 3, you're trying to ruin Vanderbilt's season. Depending on where Vanderbilt is at the end of the regular season, you can knock Vanderbilt out, just like Vanderbilt had the opportunity to knock Tennessee out. And boy, it was a great start for the Commodores last year in Nashville. Didn't end well, but Tennessee got off the bus trailing 14-0, if you remember. So you have all those things in front of you. Plus, you're always trying to play for your next contract, if you will. Okay, guys going to the NFL, trying to continue to ball out. Guys staying at Tennessee and playing next year, trying to get better NIL deal. Players who might enter the transfer portal, trying to put on some good tape, right? You're always trying to earn that next check. And at the basis of anything, that's enough motivation for anybody. So, again, there's a lot to play for in this season, even though 9-3, if you went out and missing out on the playoffs, that's, again, we live in this era of college football playoff or bust, and especially for Tennessee and this fan base where Tennessee went to the playoff last year. And so once you got a taste of it, once you kind of experience that ride, it's like everything else is kind of a failure. And we'll have the bigger conversation. I said this on yesterday's show. We'll have the bigger conversation on overachieving, underachieving, all that and more later on. Okay, the season's not over. But I understand the line of thinking saying, well, crap, what else do we have to do, right? Go ahead and get ready for next year. I'm not bashing that comment. I think there's a way to kind of do both. Number 1, go out there and win games. And I think that's what Tennessee's doing. I think Tennessee's going to rely. I think Tennessee's got players in the locker room that clearly are not going to fold. Trust me on that one. They got good leadership in that locker room that wouldn't even allow that if some wanted to. But also, I do think there's opportunities where against New Mexico State, boy, George McIntyre better get a lot of run, because you know who didn't play against UAB, which was inexcusable? George McIntyre. So get in position to where Joey Aguilar is being pulled in the second quarter because you're up 55-0. Okay, put Mark Linger in and/or George McIntyre and let those guys go to work and play the rest of the game. And George, in my opinion, specifically needs to get a whole lot of run because he didn't play in the UAB game. So there's opportunities in that regard. But even say you're in the swamp or against Vanderbilt or in a bowl game, right? I think Radarius Jackson should get some run here. 20 snaps a game should not be that hard to spell Brazzell, to spell Mike Matthews on the outside, because Tennessee just plays 3 receivers. If Travis Smith comes back, when he comes back, whenever that is, what's he look like? I think he should get a little bit of run because these 3 receivers play so much. Jaden Perlotti's already getting a lot of run at linebacker right now. I think Jaden Harmon should start getting some snaps in the linebacker rotation as well. Just stuff like that. Nobody else Sidney Walton's played some at safety already. Caleb Beasley's played some at safety already. I'm trying to think of some other premier guys that might need to get some action. David Sanders on the offensive line. Outside of that, I can't think of anybody right now, but should Tennessee go to a straight youth movement or anything like? No, but you can do a little bit of both while still going out there and winning your football game. So that's one question or statement the last couple of days I wanted to address. The second one is this, and this is more of an off-season conversation. And with 3 games left, I just, it's a bye week. I just thought, we'd spend a minute or two talking about it here. But we'll talk about this in the offseason because I think this is legit something that Josh Heupel needs to do. Seeing a lot of people frustrated and saying Josh Heupel needs to get to relinquish play calling duties or relinquish his role in calling plays on Saturdays. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know Josh Heupel calls 90% of the snaps or he calls 10% of the snaps or it's straight 50-50. I don't know. I don't know. I know him and Joey Halsley are in a constant conversation every single play of the football game. Obviously, everybody has a part in game playing and all that. But, to his core, Josh Heupel's an offensive guy. And as long as he's a head coach, I don't think that he's going to give up having a hand in the in-game offensive decisions. That's just not who he is. So my question is, since in my opinion he would never kind of relinquish that role, however big or small it is, and I think it's more big than small in my opinion, should Josh Heupel look into hiring or getting one of his staffers to sit up there in the box, have a headset on, and maybe there's already somebody doing that, we just don't know about it. But all that person's job on Saturdays is to work on management, is to be mindful of timeouts, be mindful of the clock, be mindful of every situation imaginable up there, so that Josh Heupel's so engulfed in the offense side of the football or arguing with officials or doing whatever he's doing down there on the sideline that the other person could be in a headset direct line to the head ball coach saying, hey, call a timeout here. Hey, tell your guys, once you get the first down, you can spike the football. That's okay. You can spike the football. It's okay. Clock stops once they spot it. You can spike the football. That's okay in a 2-minute system, Hey, clock stop right here. Get your third down call ready after second down if it doesn't hit, or have your fourth down call ready if your third down doesn't hit. I mean, things that they're already doing. But having one person devoted to only doing game management stuff for Josh Heupel, I think that'd be something to explore, certainly. I mean, I have no issue, like I said on yesterday's show, with the 4th and 1 play call, the 4th and 1 going for it there at that point in the ball game. Tennessee just didn't execute. What I do have an issue with is running about 30 seconds off the clock before calling a timeout. That's not good clock management. Certainly there's been some wild rides in terms of the 2-minute. I thought he ran the 2-minute offense really well at Kentucky, but outside of that, I think there's been a lot of issues and situations in a 2-minute offense this year that it's not been fantastic, right? And so I think that there could be somebody that could help him in that regard. What about there towards the end? He kicked the field goal on 4th down. Why not kick it on 2nd down or whatever? Because you're going to have to get 2 scores anyway. You're going to do an onside kick anyway. Why not go ahead and kick that field goal on 2nd down to save yourself 10 seconds or whatever? I don't know. These are questions that I think could, go to somebody to help with in-game decisions in terms of management. This, again, is a bigger conversation for the offseason, but I've seen a lot of people saying Heupel should give up play calling duties. Heupel should give up play calling duties. Again, I don't know how many plays he's calling, and I don't think that's ever going to happen. So how can Heupel get better in that type of stuff in terms of the management stuff? I think that having someone devoted only to the management stuff, a direct line communication to Josh Heupel during games, can only help. Again, bigger conversation for another day, but I thought that I would bring that onto the show right here. Those are 2 questions that I thought need to be answered or need to be discussed a little bit. Let's get to your questions, your thoughts. What is Tennessee playing for these last 3 games of the season? That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. College football is back. Couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually, getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices, jumping at checkout. That's why I use the Game Time app. It's an app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I pulled up the Game Time app, and in just a few taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite college football games, those tickets as low as $25. That's really affordable, right? The app made it super simple. I could see the exact view of my seat before I bought my seat, and I love the zone deals too. I pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and I save big. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets today with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, put in the redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, we got a final segment left here of this Tuesday morning. Locked On Vols Ward Wednesday coming up tomorrow. We'll continue to get into some bye-week content. Basketball season, that started officially last night. We'll talk hoops this week. So much to get into, and we appreciate you guys for being here on Locked On Vols. We'll get into the mailbag questions for today's show, and we'll start with an everydayer, and we'll start with Jared. Jared's got a couple, but I wanted to lead with kind of what I teased before the segment. No college football playoffs, so why watch? And I discussed a little bit of that in segment number 1. Again, I am it is not my job nor my responsibility to tell anybody how they want to be a fan. Okay, if I ever try to tell anybody how to fan, call me out on it, because that's stupid. That's not who I am. Fans, I always say this, fans short for fanatic. Fans are also asked for more and more and more now than they ever have, with season ticket prices raising and talent fees and NIL and all that stuff. I mean, they're asking more of the diehard fans than ever before. So fans want to be mad about the outcome of games, by golly, do it. I mean, I think some of the takes, and we'll get into that here in a moment, are a bit extreme and silly, but you have the right to do whatever you want to. You're a fan. But I do think, and this is, people roll their eyes, right? But, no college football playoffs, so why watch? Well, you only get 12 of these Saturdays a year. 13, or a couple more if you're lucky and get in the CFP, 13 if you get a bowl, which Tennessee's got a bowl. Starting January 1st, when my team is not in the playoff, I'm going to be just longing for college football. February, March, April, May, June, July, August. I mean, I am dying for college football, right? And I think a lot of you guys are as well. So first and foremost, I'm going to watch my team. I'm going to watch Tennessee. I'm going to watch running through the tee and scoring touchdowns at Neyland Stadium, because that's fun for me. I enjoy that, right? Number two, again, a chance to do a couple of things. Go on the road and beat Florida. Hadn't done that in a while. And this is not a 5-7 football team. This is not a 3-6 football team right now. This is a 6-3 football team that's leading the SEC in offense, that has the best passing quarterback in the SEC right now, statistically speaking. So it's fun. It's still a fun brand of football. And Jared, I'm not saying you're disagreeing with that. I'm just talking out loud here. So for me, there's a lot of reasons why I'm going to watch, and I don't think this team's going to quit, nor do I think that this coaching staff is going to start coaching to the future. So for a lot of different reasons, that's kind of why I'm watching, and I'm excited to see how this team responds, for sure. It's unfortunate. Again, we live in an era of college football playoff or bust. Tennessee's not making the playoffs, so a lot of fans are saying bust. It is what it is. But I'm still excited to watch football, and still excited to see how this team finishes the year, because 9-3 is absolutely no gimme. So there's going to be some intrigue right there. A couple other questions here from Jared. Was Oklahoma the better team on Saturday, or did we just not play up to our capabilities? I think Oklahoma's a good football team. I think their front seven defensively is really good. I think their secondary's got great closing speed. Man, Tennessee couldn't run the football because as soon as you broke the edge, there was a guy tackling Bishop or Star Thomas or whatever, man. They really, really good, talented. Having said that, I'm sorry, Tennessee dominated the first half. Tennessee absolutely destroyed Oklahoma in most, not rushing yards, in most statistical categories. Tennessee had 3 turnovers, and credit Oklahoma for forcing those, okay? So there's two sides to every coin here. Tennessee had 3 turnovers on the plus side of the 50. Tennessee gave that football game away, in my opinion, because of the first half turnovers. So that's how I'd answer that one. Number 2, why are some fans downplaying the severity of the loss? Example, we had a quarterback transfer during the summer. We knew a loss like this is bound to happen. Jared, I'm on the other end, man. I think people are making, I don't want to say too much of a deal about it because it is a college football playoff eliminator, but there's been a whole lot more of the, oh, this season sucks, or this season's awful, or fire everybody talk than, no big deal. At least that's from my perspective. And again, we'll have those conversations in the offseason in terms of what this season looks like as a whole. Rocky Top Tom, you've got what now for the month of November is... if there's kids in the car, I'm not going to read that part, even though it's not that bad. Go win some football games against better opponents, Florida and Vanderbilt. You say many times this year, Tennessee is its own worst enemy. This team may not overcome that, but I'm leaning towards not. Rocky Top Tom down on himself on a Monday. I mean, again, based on what we've seen at points and times this year, I mean, you're not off base, man. We'll see if Tennessee can overcome it. Tennessee can win on the road, and Tennessee can beat some pretty good football teams. Big Daddy Vol, or Big Vol Daddy. The only time I noticed Boo on the field was on punt return, and he didn't look good doing that. Rumor is he was injured, but not on the injury report because he is the only one to field punts. Is he injured, and how in the world is he the only one who can fair catch a football? I don't know the situation. I don't know. I mean, clearly Boo did not play well at Kentucky. Clearly Boo had a play where it appeared that he did not give a whole lot of effort on, and Boo went to the bench for a long time in that football game against Kentucky. Boo Carter's not played great defense all year long. So, I mean, to me, it just looked like a coach's decision. I don't think he's hurt. Of course, I can't say that with I mean, if he was hurt, he'd be on the injury report because, I mean, teams can get fined. There are other guys who can return punts. Dwan Morris, Braylon Staley. I know that, Staley had that miscue there at Mississippi State, but there are other guys who can return punts. I don't know what the deal was with Boo, man, but I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to be rude, but like Boo's not been a difference maker on defense, so it's not like it's anything I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's happening now? Do you ever have to stop yourself from getting nuclear on folks when you see an absolutely horrible take on Twitter, especially the Fire Heupel crowd, or do you just point and laugh at their silliness? Again, I think that there's a lot of takes that are very extreme and are very silly. But everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I will never be leading a charge or fire anybody. That's just not my style. Even when you guys DM me and talked about Brian Kelly, I mean, I don't like some people, but I'm never leading the charge of fire somebody usually because I don't want somebody doing that to me. But there are a lot of takes that are just silly and I don't agree with. I'm able to do this podcast and I get paid money to do it because of you guys. I'm able to write at volquest.com and go cover games because of you guys. Like, I'm living the dream right now, and it's because of Tennessee fans. So, are there days where I get really, really frustrated? Absolutely. Are there days where I just roll my eyes and get annoyed like crazy? Oh, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm able to live out a dream and have one of the coolest jobs in the world because of Tennessee fans. So, at times I just kind of laugh when I see that stuff. I'd never want to go nuclear on somebody unless somebody's attacking me. Even then, I don't go nuclear because I think playing that out in a public space is kind of silly, in my opinion. But a lot of times somebody will say something, repulsive or rude or whatever, and I'll direct message them and be like, hey, man, let's talk it out. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was overreacting to it. I'm so sorry. All that stuff. Okay. Well, appreciate that. We'll go to Randy. The results are not what we expected at UT, but I'll take hype in this team we have coming back, the strong recruiting class, and the portal success that we've had over LSU and Auburn, over an LSU or Auburn situation any day. Question: would any of the quarterbacks on next year's team be considered dangerous runners? I think Faison would. George McIntyre is like sneaky athletic and sneaky like elusive in my opinion. I think he's really good out of the pocket. Mark Klinger I don't think is very good out of the pocket, but I would say George for sure. And I think Faison's kind of in the same camp as George in that regard. Couple more here. I know we're running overboard. Big Orange Energy. Mr. Cain, do you believe that Tennessee being the youngest team in the SEC has a lot to do with our issues this season, or is it more coaching malpractice? Youngest team in the SEC? I never really thought about that, to be honest with you. Some youth on the offensive line. Defensive line is old. Linebacker has some youth, but it's kind of old now. The secondary outside of Redmond is old. Well, Farouk is back there. He's a sophomore. Wide receivers are old. I mean, multiple players in the system, I should say. Running backs, same way. Your quarterback's 24. I never really thought about that, to be honest with you, but there are a lot of freshmen and redshirt freshmen on this team. Do you think that's our biggest issue, or do you think it's been coaching malpractice? I think at points in time, Tennessee could have absolutely coached better and made better decisions. Also, I think that it's a lack of execution in some areas as well. Coaches make the money, so it's easy to point the finger. For the Fire Heupel or whoever crowd, right? It's easy because you're getting a paycheck. But sometimes you do everything you can to put those guys in position, and they just don't execute. And that's the same for basketball. That's the same for baseball. That's the same for football. I mean, it's human nature. You're going to either succeed or fail on that specific play. Sometimes you'll fail. Sometimes you'll succeed. I think it's a mixture of both, man. I really do. But I would never think that Tennessee's issues stem from being young. I've never really kind of thought that. Tyler, people claiming for coaching changes at head coach or DC this year. They clearly have forgotten about 09 to 20, called 8-4 prior to the season based off draft graduation alone. Add the top two corners out, can still maybe finish 10-3 with the bowl game. Yeah, again, perspective is very, very important. I would agree in that regard. Got one more question. Let's see here. From my guy Bruce over here. Couple of things. One, I don't know if I remember coach ever being so visibly upset at his press conference after the game. Second, and the 3 losses so far, which side of the ball was the reason for the loss? I would say the offense was the cause for the loss tonight. He said that on Saturday. Yeah, the offense was absolutely the reason for the loss on Saturday. Against Bama, I mean, Tennessee still gave up, 9 points in that football game? A touchdown for sure. I mean, the defense still at Alabama, I think it was a combination of the two. Against Georgia, it was the defense couldn't make a stop. But the other night, it was the offense and the 3 first-half turnovers. Also, on the Scoop and Score, did anyone chase that guy on TV? It looked like no one gave chase other than Miles Kitselman. I'd have to go back and look. I mean, Kitselman had the guy wrapped up, it felt like, and just couldn't bring him down to the ground, which is not good. I mean, if you make that tackle, who knows what would have happened, right? Kitselman should have made that tackle. Last question is going to go to Sawyer. Where would you rank Saturday in terms of worst losses under Heupel? How do you... Perception's key, right? Like, it's a bad loss in terms of it knocked you out of the playoff and you were at home and it's a game you should have won. Nothing in my mind will be worse than 2022 South Carolina. Okay? Some of those 2021 down at Florida, 23 down at Florida was tough. 23 down at Florida was really tough because you just didn't score points. Missouri 2023, oh my gosh, that was bad. So, like, I think it's, but like, in terms of everything being on the line, that was Saturday. And so I think it just depends on how you look at it. I mean, it's up there just because of what you missed out on and just because, man, you beat yourself, in my opinion. But nothing will ever top 2022 South Carolina, and that's just that. That's my opinion. All right, as always, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sending in your questions, your comments, your concerns. Really do appreciate you guys. We'll be back this week. Trust me, we got loads and loads and loads of things to talk about. So Locked On Vols. It's a bye week for Tennessee football, but Locked On Vols still going strong every single day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, everybody. We'll get a little Award Wednesday on the show. This is Locked On Vols.